We have it in us. If we can figure out how to get on side with each other, if we can figure out how to get out of our own way, watch out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think the men are going to be a problem.
Hi guys. Welcome back to another episode of Girls Gotta Eat.
First of the year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We've missed you guys.
We have.
Yes.
We are recording on Christmas Day.
In the same outfits we were wearing the last time we recorded,
episode.
both of us.
But different sides. This is so weird. This is like when a couple wakes up on the other side of the bed.
It's really, like they got so fucked up last night. They were having sex and they just passed out.
You like woke up in the kitchen. Like,
Do you wake up in the kitchen?
no, but over Christmas.
Pre-Christmas.
Well, like with my boyfriend, we did wake up and my bra was on the kitchen island, which was pretty spicy.
You guys fucked in that kitchen?
We
At
got
the
back and we started
farmhouse?
like hooking up in the kitchen.
Your parents' kitchen.
No, like where we stayed in Dewey. And like I had
The
to
way
go.
you just coughed in my face.
I had
like I felt the breeze.
I don't know what to do. This is chaotic.
We are really brave. We were talking about the theme. It's bravery. We've
It's
never sat this
bravery.
close together.
No,
You just coughed all over me.
Well, I am trying not to get you sick. I don't think
Um,
I'm contagious anymore.
We have no lights on us. I have no hair extensions in. I'm a little hungover. It's
Yeah.
Christmas.
It is. It's Christmas Day.
It's
We're
New Year's
recording.
for you
We're
guys,
in
but-
Delaware. We're in the farmhouse, the side piece house. If you guys remember, that's what Raina called it during COVID. But yes, like when you have sides with your partner and you wake up on the other side, you're like, what happened last night? But remember that one time those people wrote in and said they don't have sides?
That's mentally ill. That is living free. I could never just
Totally.
like fly that high.
totally. Like
That's-
those people are in a cult for sure.
like, what do they do to like get a rush? You're already doing something so crazy.
Those people are probably gonna last forever.
No sides.
They're just so like living so free. Like, oh my god,
Your brother just FaceTime you and me? Or is that your boyfriend? Your
It's
brother's
Matt.
your brother's FaceTiming me?
He
Okay,
wants to
later.
do the presents, guys. Keep this in.
Yeah.
Matt.
Hi.
What are you guys doing?
We're recording an
recording.
episode.
We'll call you back.
We'll be done in 30 minutes. Pre-Eagles game, post-recording.
Go Birds, Matt.
I'll FaceTime you again. I'll try again. We can't really go on your timing right now. So.
You run to me on our. We're literally working.
We're worldwide celebrities, Matt, and you're on our time.
Okay.
Bye,
Hold on, you're right. I'll just wait for your call.
All right, third place. I'll see you later.
Bird Gang. Oh my gosh. Okay, Raina, we have ads. Guess what I'm going to do? Go crazy and start. Thanks to AG1 for supporting our show. If you want to take ownership of your health, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/GGE. And we'd like to thank Nutrafol for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve visible thickness and strength. Go to Nutrafol.com/quiz to take the quiz and enter the promo code GGE to save $10 off your first month subscription plus free shipping.
This is crazy, you guys. I start the ads in every episode for 6 years. Anyways, thanks to Buffy for supporting Girls Gotta Eat. Buffy makes award-winning bedding that's soft on you and soft on the earth. For $20 off your Buffy order, visit buffy.co and enter promo code GGE. And thanks to HelloFresh for supporting our show. Go to hellofresh.com/GGE free and use the code GGE free for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active.
Okay. So hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. We recorded before the holiday show. We're not going to recap it. That was quite a while back, but thanks again for coming. It was epic. All of our friends and family, and we were just feeling so grateful and blessed and so thankful for one full year with Tessa and our team and Anna, Ashley, and just everybody. And they were all there, and it felt really nice. And again, so thankful for you guys for such an amazing year and to start another year with you going into our 6th year of this show.
Can't believe it. So I bought Ashley a charm bracelet for Christmas and I put a little 6 on it. And your brother walked into the house last night and he goes, "Did you ever think the longest relationship you had with somebody would be with a woman?" I was like, I hoped so.
And I was
He
like,
was
what
like,
are
you
you talking
guys
about?
spend an insane amount of time together, like crazy. And I was like, I know.
I mean, yeah, sorta, but I don't know what you've been doing the last couple weeks.
But hang out in my neighborhood.
I know.
I saw a lot of movies. My
Even
neighbor
in the theater. On your theater tip, just every day at the movie theater, your neighbor took you and dropped you off and picked you up at the movie theater. Like, first of all, I have been sick and we have been having to work. So I've been like hanging by a thread. So I do talk to you every day, all day still. But it's been one of those weird this past week until you got here on the 23rd that I was like, I don't know what she's been doing. And then you get here and you unload crazy stuff. 3 movies in a theater in a week. I was like, what? Do I even know you? And then today when you said your neighbor dropped you off and picked you up, like he's your mom in high school?
I met his mom. I'm trying to not be in love with Ryan anymore.
Oh my God, that's your goal.
That 2024 was one of my goals, is not being in love with Ryan anymore.
Oh my God. Well, I love to hear it. On that note, one rec we have to give is Saltburn, and Raina saw it in the theater, and then we did watch it with my mom the other night, and I fucking loved it. It's free on Amazon for Prime Video. If you want to go to the theater like Raina did, or see it twice in 1 week. It's
I was like,
fucked up.
I was getting popcorn full butter topping, just all over that shit.
Like you're true.
Well, first of all, it's a weird time in LA, the time between like, I don't know, like mid-December until New Year's, because no one's there. Because nobody's from LA. So everybody like goes to where they came from. And it's been like monsoon raining. No one's around. You're not around. Nobody's around. I'm like, it's weird to work, but like we have to work. It's been like a weird time.
Yeah.
So I've been in the theaters. So
in those theaters.
Full butter popcorn. Saltburn was amazing. I saw Poor Things with Emma Stone, which is phenomenal. It's about this like grown woman with a baby's brain, essentially. It's sort of like a Frankenstein sci-fi movie. Saw the new Hunger Games. I saw Killers of the Flower Moon. I didn't even tell you about that. I couldn't get through it.
It's like your massage life. It's like your secret life. Well, we like the other 3. Saltburn. It's so twisted. I cannot recommend it enough. I did not know what I was getting into, and I loved it.
Yes, I was so excited. I didn't know if you were going to like it, but I feel like everybody likes it.
Yeah,
everybody loved it.
I mean, I was like, is there rape? Is there extreme violence? Is there child abuse? Like, other than that, like, dark is pretty okay with me. I just don't like those things. Not that people like it, but people
I don't want to
watch movies with it. Yeah. And like, even just a lot of violence. Like, I don't like Die Hard. You know, like, I don't like a lot of, it's not for me.
I don't either.
No judgment.
Assault, not for me.
Okay, so we had our Christmas. We had our appetizer contest.
I'm so glad. I was like, we were on the fence about me coming because I've joked that you uninvited me, but you didn't really. And I'm so glad I came.
You always love to throw this joke around. I've never once even alluded to it. And you're like, Ashley uninvited me. The one year you said I uninvited you, it was 2020. The narrative is so whack. I'm like,
it's funny that I got uninvited during COVID because jokes on you guys, I came the next year and got COVID.
Oh my God.
So it's been really nice. And it was so weird this year because I had to like fly across the country. I wasn't like driving. So I was like, oh yeah, I have to like bring gifts. Like, how do I do that? So I brought a second suitcase with me for gifts, which I don't know. It's always nice to be here. And I'm so glad that like I can come every year. It's 6 years. Your mom got me a stocking.
I know.
It just means so much to me to be like included.
And you got second in the appetizer contest again. You got second a lot.
I've never had first. I
But
think
you
I
didn't
get
lose
second
to
most
Steph.
years.
You lost, or Matt. You lost to Buck.
Matt lost to me.
Yeah.
Buck is a sleeper. You don't ever see him coming, and then he makes ceviche with shrimp in Delaware in December. And you're like, where did this come from? And he just sweeps the competition.
So if you're new here, welcome. But every Christmas Eve, the Hesseltines do an appetizer contest. Everyone makes an appetizer, and then we vote. And it gets heated. So I phoned it in for years.
You did.
And then I started stepping it up, but like never with an intention to win, just like a Mexican dip, or I would make like guac with my rotel and then like a dip trio. Like one time I made like a 7-layer dip. I'm never like, I'm not going to get any votes. Maybe I've gotten one vote one time, which was like a pity vote probably from you because you were like, I'm new here and I just don't know. But
so grateful to be invited.
One of my college girlfriends, like on our very wholesome group chat, we share a lot of recipes, and they sent this like Borson bake. You just kind of bread it and bake it and put hot honey on it. It's from Cheese Gal, who is a new follow to me on Instagram. Obviously, I'm going to follow her for all the cheese recipes. And it was amazing. I did not win, but everyone did agree I got most improved.
You definitely get most improved.
And I did tie
100%.
for fourth.
You did. You placed. And I never hear your name even mentioned in the running.
But then Buck made like what? Bacon.
Bacon on these like saltine
candied
crackers.
bacon on these crackers, and then with a cocktail with it. He did a bacon-infused bourbon,
Insane.
old-fashioned, just on the side.
When he whipped that shit out, mason jars, he started pouring like
Shaving
red cups.
orange.
It was insane. Maraschino cherries.
Someone had the audacity to DM me, "You guys never said Buck was hot." What?
That's his name is Buck Fucks.
She said, I think she was being cute about it. She was like, "How did I not know?" I'm like, "I don't know, girl."
Buck's hot. Buck is really hot.
So he won with his bacon and bourbon, and Raina got second with the Cajun shrimp dip. And it was just really nice. I've had this has been a really full December, our shows, and I've been here, but I did a Christmas with Sparkle Eyes, the weekend before Christmas. He came down. We did all the things I've wanted to do in Rehoboth, Dewey Beach, going to Shellville, which is this incredible Christmas. I don't want to call it a market because it's so much more than that, but if you know, you know, exchanged our presents, and I feel fulfilled. I feel like I did the thing. He and I got a tree back in November. Holiday shows, of course. We've seen so much friends and family. We did a Venice sign lighting with our LA friends. I had dinner with my hometown friends, did a Christmas with him and family. And I feel like I did good because it's not long enough. I always want more. And this year I'm not saying I'm tapped out, but I am ready to pack it up.
And do what?
Move into the new year.
Come to LA for party.
Go back to LA. That's what it is.
As you're listening to this, we had a party last night. It was really fun.
Yes, and New
You're ready to
Year's.
go back and party more.
Okay, right. As we are recording, I am excited to do New Year's in LA. You're having a party.
I know. I have a party every year. I love it. It's my favorite. I've never had an LA party for New Year's, and this is my first one. I'm thrilled.
Okay.
Rob's flying in for it with his
crazy.
wife. I'm really excited.
I know. I'm a New Year's kiss. Maybe you will too with your fucking neighbor. Is he in
I know
town?
he's in Hawaii.
I bet he'll stay. You're his best friend now. Guess who can't come? Ryan in his van.
You know, we figured out I'm Ryan's best friend too.
We have to deprioritize Ryan for the show.
Yeah, that's part of my 2024 goals.
Okay, I'm so excited to tell you guys about Nutrafol always. If you're around me, you will see my Nutrafol bottle. I do not ever not have it with me because I take my supplements every single day, my 4 capsules. I rely on it so much. If you are experiencing any sort of hair thinning or excessive shedding, it can be complicated where it's much bigger than your hair alone. It can be a reflection of your health or your stress, internal factors, and they can help you figure this out. And you can take their hair wellness quiz and you get your personalized hair health plan today. So I really experienced excessive shedding and thinning earlier this year. I'm still kind of dealing with it, but Nutrafol has really helped in terms of getting me back to a place where I feel like I have that thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. So I could not rely on it more. We got a text from a work friend person the other day, and she mentioned something she had dealt with that was super stressful. And she was like, I started losing all my hair. And she was like, Nutrafol has helped me to get it back. Mm-hmm. So whatever you may be dealing with, I just like that once you kind of open up that conversation, which you might feel embarrassed or feel shame around or just be super upset if you feel like your hair is not what it used to be. I feel like you'll find so many more women that are like, me too. Mm-hmm. And
absolutely.
Everybody I know that is dealing with anything uses this, but you don't have to be dealing with any sort of struggle to even want to take it. You might just want to preserve what you already have and really use them for their multi-targeted whole body approach. We could not recommend it enough. #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, over 1 million people who use it, and recommended by 4,500 doctors and hairstylists nationwide. My dermatologist and my hairstylist recommend it to me. So we think you guys should get on it. There's really no better time, especially with the new year, and really just see those results. You'll see them in 3 to 6 months. So you can start your hair growth journey today by taking Nutrafol's hair wellness quiz and get your personalized hair health plan today. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping at Nutrafol.com/quiz when you enter the promo code GGE. So take the quiz and get started on reaching your hair wellness goals with Nutrafol today. Nutrafol, spelled Nutrafol.com/quiz, promo code GGE. So that is Nutrafol.com/quiz. Promo code GGE.
Yes, and New Year, there is no better time than right now to up your bedding game. Okay, this can change your entire sleep experience, your entire bedroom. So Buffy, we can't recommend enough. We absolutely love it. We both have the Buffy Breeze. They make award-winning bedding that is soft on you and soft on the earth. So I love the Buffy Breeze sheet set and the comforter because it just really keeps me cool. And I live in LA and I don't have air conditioning in my house. It just is what it is. It's a little hot there. So I love it. And I've had it on my bed for years. And I feel like the comforter doesn't lose fullness. I love the way the sheets feel on my body. I sleep naked. It's the perfect thing to sleep naked in. If you don't want the Breeze sheet set, they also have a soft eucalyptus sheet set. So those are cool and hypoallergenic. They're dyed using natural skin safe botanical dyes. I just love it. I sleep naked every single night. I get the best sleep of my life. We both recommend it to everybody. And if you like want to gift this to somebody, maybe like your partner has sheets that you don't like, this is a great way to make it nicer to sleep at somebody else's house.
It's the absolute best. Right upstairs in the farmhouse, I have the soft hemp and the cloud comforter up there. I have a backup comforter here, the breeze as well. And then, of course, in LA, like they're all over the place.
Yes.
Everybody has all Buffy, everything.
And the packaging is really nice if you want to gift it to somebody. I love the way that it arrives at your house. It just looks really nice. And Buffy offers a 7-night at-home trial, so you can experience Buffy before committing to buying it. Shipping is free, and customers also enjoy a 100-night free returns policy. For $20 off your Buffy order, visit buffy.co and enter the code GGE. That's buffy.co, promo code GGE for $20 off. And if you are newer here, our website has every single promo code and every episode we've ever done at girlsgotteat.com.
Okay, so really quick, I do just want to talk about Vibes Only.
Okay.
Because I need to give a personal endorsement about that peppermint patty suck and blow gel. Of course, I tasted it when we were taste testing, but I did use it on a peppermint dick.
Okay.
I did.
You got that peppermint stick.
Got the peppermint stick for Christmas.
Okay.
I was saving it for Christmas. That was a part of my gifts.
You made me bring it to you.
Yeah.
New York.
Well, because then I used one for the show, and I was like, I don't have my own. Can you bring me one? Like, whatever. So I honestly swear it tastes better on somebody than like just tasting it
That's so
alone.
funny.
I could not get enough of it.
So funny.
It's so good. So I'm like, I knew I loved this flavor. Obviously, this was more me. I'm more pepper, more more spear. So,
Yeah.
But I had not yet sucked a dick with it, and I am texting the whole company about it the next day. It's part of the whole process, and we sold out. And we thought we were close, but we did not know we were going to sell out that quickly. We start panicking. We were like, okay, let's talk to the supplier. Let's turn it around quick. And we were like, are people going to want this past Christmas? And I was like, yes. And I will tell them that they do. So anyway, we brought back a limited quantity so you can still get that. And we will have new flavors coming soon, but you can still buy the pumpkin spice on sale. But in our new packaging, of course, you can still get the peppermint patty for a limited time. So I just really want to hype it. It's so good. It's going to really be such a treat all winter long, all spring, whenever you want it. That's my number one flavor forever. I'm going to stand by it.
I knew that would be your favorite flavor. But the second blowjob, they can go on vulvas or penises, and it just activates the saliva glands in your mouth because it's so tasty, and it just leads to like an even juicier blowjob. Like it's less work for you. Makes your breath taste good.
I get excited to whip it out. I was like, oh, I can do this all night.
We have a new flavor coming out in the spring. I cannot wait to
just get ready.
I'll be licking it off nipples, anything.
And then I have to say that I did use the kink links also at 3 p.m. And I was like, oh.
No one was less sure about this. You're like, I don't know. And I was like, I think they're going to do good. And you love them now.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. handcuffs. You guys are crazy.
Why not?
What are you doing?
Just
hanging out?
I think we'd just open our gifts. I don't know. So anyway,
he's like 3 p.m. He's like, you know what I want to do for the rest of the afternoon is hog tie you.
He was basically, let me grab something. I was like, I know what this is. It was just funny, like the lights streaming in, like all the blinds are open. I was like, let's just do this. Those are such a great gift and a stocking stuffer, and I hope a lot of people like got them for the holidays and are using them. And they're so fun and they're so easy. There's no locks or anything. They're super soft, stretchy silicone. It's just a nice, sexy thing to do. You can get out of them easily. You don't feel like super bound and it's nice.
I've never seen anything like it before. I think some like handcuffs, they just look so cheesy. There's like heavy metal and they're just gross. And I just love these. They're purple. They're beautiful. We have a lot of really great stuff coming out for Valentine's Day, you guys. But in the meantime, get in there.
Vibesonly.com. And then do you want to make our show announcement?
Yes. So the big thing about 2024, and we're going to talk about goals and things like that, but I know that we said that we aren't really touring in 2024 until the end of the year.
Yeah, like first Q1, Q2.
But we do have one surprise show coming up for you guys. So one of our most favorite cities, Miami. February 1st weekend, February 4th, Sunday, we will be part of EatsCon with The Infatuation. I've been a long time fan of this company. They're an incredible food media company. Ashley and I really love them. And we did EatsCon in Chicago. It's their really great food festival. No one is better at throwing a festival than these guys. They just really get it right with the entertainment, the food, all these restaurants. So you come, you buy a ticket to the event, you get to try all these different foods, and then there's entertainment all weekend. And the lineup for Miami is so phenomenal. So Mary Beth and Benny drama are going to be there. Marcelo Hernandez, who's a friend of ours, and then Ashley and I on Sunday. We'll get you the exact time. I think it'll be like 3:00 maybe, but we love doing it in Chicago. We're going to love doing it in Miami. We cannot wait to do a show, and you can get tickets at eatscon.com, and that's 5 E's. So like eatscon.com. Also The Infatuation. You should check out their Instagram. You can find it there as well.
Yes, you can do eatscon5es.com/Miami also. And February 4th was Dewey's birthday adoption day.
Wait, it was? February's your month.
February 4th is like a special day always. So anything on that day is special.
Yeah. And then actually like a few days after that, we launched the podcast for the first time.
Yes.
So it's a big month.
And then Raina mentioned Benito Skinner and Mary Beth, of course, and Marcelo, and then us. And then the Always Sunny guys are the other headliner, and people are like obsessed with them. Like they're doing this whole like live thing, and it'll be Rob and Glenn who are responsible for creating It's Always Sunny. And so they're the other headliners as well. They just did like a huge Radio City, right? In New York.
Yeah, they did. Jeremy went and said it was great with Bobby.
Yeah. And then all these restaurants and all this food is part of the thing too. And it's like a cool venue. So you guys can come out and see us there.
It's just a really fun day. And obviously Miami in February, there's nothing better.
That's the month we go.
We go every year. Show or no show.
And then randomly the Friday before, me and Sparkle are going to see Drake in Tampa. You know I love Tampa. We didn't have
That's actually why we agreed to be part of this festival.
We were like, when can we see Drake? Drake announced a tour with J. Cole, and I was like, well, maybe if we do EastCon, we could do Tampa. Drake in Tampa. What's that going to be like?
And also, my like other best friend lives in Miami, and I haven't really like spent solo time with her for like a long period of time in a long time. Like I've like gone down alone and spent time with her. So
I haven't seen her. I never see her anymore.
I never. I
miss her.
I haven't seen her since my birthday. She barely is around.
Yeah. Okay. So 2024.
Big year. We're excited.
Big year. We were just talking about what was the theme of the year, and we're going to read some of our audience's goals. But I said, get money. Be kind and get money. And we'll talk more about that with our guest today, who we're super excited about, and kind of a different type of episode. I hope you guys like really like it. I found the whole conversation super fascinating, but kind of like being kind to each other, other women, yourself, you know, I just like this. People always say like, what, work hard and be nice to people, but I'm saying be kind, get money.
Be kind, get money. I like that. And in years past, it was fuck more, cry less. Fuck less, cry more.
That's the goal.
COVID was a crazy year. But this is really the first year that you and I have been on tour. We've done almost 200 shows in like 5 years. We have never not been on tour except for if it was unplanned. So like COVID. And we've like canceled shows for unexpected reasons. But we've never had like a large chunk of time since we met each other where we weren't running Vibes, running Girls Gotta Eat, also on tour. And so like really my goal until we go back on tour in the fall is to like be really intentional with my time and do stuff that I like have always said I wanted to do, but like there's just never like the time. And it's like my life is great. I'm not complaining. I love working and I love working with you, but I want to like take this time to travel around California because we haven't really done that. And like we haven't even gone to like Santa Barbara. We haven't gone to Hawaii, which I know is not in California, but
a lot easier to get to.
California. Big Bear or Tahoe, and just like I haven't spent any time exploring. And then like my second like biggest goal is I want to take some classes, and I've been threatening to do this for years, but I'd like to take sex therapy and relationship psychology classes. And so I just want to really commit to doing that. I think it's easier than ever today to just take classes on Zoom. And Emily Morse gave us a lot of good advice about how to do that. And I think that you and I have so much knowledge and interviewed everybody and read all their books. And I think that we're really accredited, but to just add that on top of what we already do would make me feel really like happy and proud. So that's like my goal is to really focus on that. And I have like other goals, but that's like my main big goal for the year.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, 2023 was incredible. I want to just keep it rolling, keep the good times rolling. But my main goal really is to take Vibes. Our main goal, I'm just speaking on it, we feel the same way, is to really take Vibes to the next level. And Vibes is completely self-funded, and it is a really successful, profitable company. I mean, it's still a small company. You know, we make money, we put it back into the business, and we're really proud of it. You know, when we really take a step back and we feel sometimes so overworked and we're annoyed at all the responsibilities we have, and we're still very grateful, obviously, and it's a privilege to be annoyed with how much work you have to do. But I think it's still important that we are proud of ourselves and like what we build and the community that we build around it, and like being able to give people their first sex toy experience or the best orgasm they've ever had, or the first time listening to erotic audio, or the first time giving a flavored blowjob, or whatever it may be. But we really want to take it to the next level. And that really would be an investor or private equity or whatever it looks like. And so that's just what I'm saying. I want to take vibes to the next level. I want to figure out my personal shit. Like I, have been taking a little bit of a break from stand-up. I've always talked about writing books. I don't really want to set a goal right now. I'm just kind of figuring it out. But by the end of the year, by mid-year, I want to like actually figure it out what I'm going to put my time into when it comes to that. And like having a little more time that now they're not touring. I want to go to Italy with my boyfriend this year. We're planning it. So it's not like it's that much of a stretch, but that was like a trip I always wanted to take with a romantic partner. And like for years, you're like, I want to go to Italy. I'm like, it just feels so romantic to me. I just like want to go with a partner. I haven't been since I was 19 years old. I went with my family. And to me, it's this ultimate in romantic destinations. And he's down and we've talked about it going in July. And just that's like my big like trip I want to take in this year. And I think lastly, I mean, I say this every year, I want to buy a fucking house. I'm always looking. I put an offer in a couple weeks ago. I was like, didn't get it. It's just like, it's a never ending thing. I'm just going to say it. This sounds really motivated, but
one year you're going to say it and you're really going to do it.
Exactly. So if I just say it every year. All right. Anyway.
Well, we've talked about this and I think this is not a hot take, but like goals are hard to achieve if they're really like vague.
Too broad.
Too broad. Like I want to lose weight is not a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, it is and good for you if you want to, but it's hard to say like if you can set like measurable goals, that's easier for me. So like I want to buy a house is easier for me to accomplish.
Yeah.
I read like 30 books this year. I want to read 35 books this year.
Oh.
I would also like to buy a house because I don't own anything. And I think that would be really nice now that we've like settled in California a little bit. So it's something I'm dabbling in, but it's my least goal.
Yeah.
But I have like travel goals. I want to go to South America because I really haven't spent a lot of time there. And I've spent some time in Colombia, the south part of South America. I haven't been to Argentina and Chile, which I always say wrong. Did I say it right?
Chile?
I'm just trying to.
Yeah. It's not Chile.
Some people say that and then you sound stupid, but it's like, I feel like when you say
Chile.
like in the middle of a sentence, you're like Chile. It's like when Giada De Laurentiis like switches into like Italian stuff. She's like burrata. And it's like, you don't have an Italian accent.
But Chile is doable because, I feel so stupid when I try to like do accents or do like, I'm not good with languages. And so like, it doesn't feel natural. It sounds cringe when I try to, but I can do Chile.
Okay, well, I want to go to Chile and I want to see Taylor Swift in concert. So you and I are probably going to go do that with Sparkle Eyes and my sister-in-law.
No, not him.
He's not going to come?
He's going to come meet in Italy after. We're crashing our friend's honeymoon.
So my friend Alana is getting married in Tuscany. So we're going to go to that and then crash our honeymoon.
I'm not invited to that. You're going there alone.
I'm going to the wedding.
You're going to the wedding. I'm not going to the wedding with you. Sparkle Eyes is not coming to Taylor Swift with us. Let's get the guest list together.
My sister-in-law is going to crash it too, so we're all going to go. But I haven't seen Taylor Swift in concert, so I'm really excited. So those are some of the goals for 2024.
Okay. Do you want to read some of our listeners?
Yeah. You read some. My phone's warm because I was sitting on it.
Just hand me her warm phone. Okay. Buy a house. Be the healthiest and hottest version of myself and earn more money. Manage my money better. I'm just reading the money stuff.
I know. I love all the money stuff.
Try and find a real man in Boston. You can do it, sis. She wrote #dream big. Learn how to big girl budget. Be high all the time. Have more sex and wake up earlier. Get off the struggle bus financially. Leave my husband. Okay, we love that.
Wow.
Wishing you all the best.
We can just DM him if you want.
Yeah. Lose 40 pounds and save 20K. Love the numbers.
Specificity.
Yes.
Ooh, I love it.
Yes. Get pregnant. Okay, that's my choice. Get laid more often, abs, a boyfriend, pay off my credit card debt, running the Philly Marathon, stay consistent on the Peloton, to get an engagement ring, have a healthy baby, make more money again, open heart and legs. Hopefully to the same person. Doesn't need to be.
That's a strong one for this year.
Open heart.
Open legs, open heart.
Yeah. Well, what can we say about money?
Open bank accounts, cash checks, big decks.
Open legs, closing deals. Open legs and closing deals. There it is.
So funny.
There, we nailed it.
That's the theme of the year.
I'm going to just end on this one because I love the way she wrote it. Suck more dick, honestly.
Honestly.
To be honest,
I'd like to suck more dick. Open those legs. Open that jaw.
Close that deal.
Open that throat. Yeah, obviously I want to have more sex this year. I want somebody to hog tie me at 3 p.m.
God, my laugh is the worst. I would love to get over this upper respiratory infection.
You've been sick way more than I have in the past couple years. I had that one sickness in March that lasted like 3 weeks.
It sucks. Like, if I neglect my immune proactivity for a day, I swear, and we'll talk about AG1, but it took a toll. Like, I'm going to talk about something next week where we just want to kind of wrap this up. We have a longer interview today and we're just not in the studio. This is like, we're in the same outfit, like whatever, you guys get it. But something that happened to me that I feel like my level of stress like affected my body in a way that I like want to speak about openly. Like, we were under a lot of stress, those shows, the travel, all the stuff, and it just wore me down.
Yeah, I don't know how we survived the fall and the Christmas season.
Like, I did get sick. You know, the first one was a cold. This was a little more intense, but it always is on the tail end of like all the things. Like the other time was when we got back from Europe, and sometimes it feels like unavoidable.
Sometimes you should take a day off of drinking. Just one. Today's going to be my day. One day I'll take off a drink.
You're not going to have a drink for the Eagles game?
Damn it, Ashley. Yeah, obviously I'm going to drink. God damn it.
Go Birds.
I'm an Eagles fan. I'm partial to the Eagles. It can't be the Steelers. But if you guys really are like struggling to stick with your goals, I know it's hard. Our episode last year with James Clear is one of my absolute favorites. He wrote Atomic Habits. He's phenomenal. And I took those lessons with me always, because he talks about like just because you like fall off the wagon doesn't mean you can get like right back on it. It was always hard for me to work out because I would do it like 6 days a week. I would go so hard and then I would skip it one day and that would be this like slippery slope into stopping forever. And now I'm just like, if I take a couple weeks off, it's not over forever. I can start again.
Well, that's in today's episode as well.
Yeah.
Really, like the way that she describes how like we almost view ourselves like these animals breaking out of a cage that like can't moderate our own eating, or, you know, once we, like you said, fall off the wagon, we can't get back on. Like, it's very interesting. And it comes up today too, which we love that for the new year. And just the energy in this episode, we really love. And the money thing. I mean, Ramit Sethi, we really recommend both of his episodes. One was more recent, this spring, and then 2018.
Yeah.
And he's just a great wealth of information to follow on Instagram. And so we find those to be really great resources too, if money is on your mind this year.
And if you want to open your legs a little more this year,
if you want to suck more dick this year and you don't have that peppermint patty,
I don't know what you're doing.
You're a fake.
Yeah.
You're a fraud.
You don't mean it.
You don't mean it. Open legs, open mouth, open heart, closing deals.
Nailed it. Well, thank you guys for an amazing 2023. We're excited to go into this year with you again, our 6th year of the podcast. I guess this is our 7th year, right? Because we've done it for 6 years. This will be our 7th year.
Yeah, going into our, I mean, February will be 6 years.
So you're going into your 7th. So you guys, don't quote me. I don't care. It's a long time. It's a lot of years.
And we're also coming up on 300 episodes in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Which is insane to have done anything that long. I can't believe it. Thank you guys for being here for it.
Yeah.
Like all the guests that have been on the show, and of course to Ashley and to Tessa and to everybody who works with us.
Yes.
Anna, who does all of our videos and is phenomenal. It was a great 2023. We're excited for 2024. We'll be back on tour in the fall. In the meantime, come see us in Miami. Shop those vibrators.
You said Anna, so I'm going to say one thing.
What?
That we had our company dinner, and we had our company dinner in New York at Q, which is a place we love, KYU. Chef Chris is the best. And
they're opening in Las Vegas, actually, and they're in Miami, too.
And we had an amazing meal there with our whole team. And Anna is pescatarian, and we had like a set meal, but they were like, we'll make sure we take care of you, so we'll bring you a fish, whatever, because we were all having like meat.
And I didn't pay attention, because there are these huge boards of meat and fried chicken and short ribs, all the time.
And so I lean over.
I hate myself.
There was one person between me and Anna, and I lean over to her and I go, how's your fish? And Raina from across the table yells, is your fish sick?
You guys.
As in like a pet.
You guys. First of all, fishes don't get sick. They just die. They don't get sick.
It took everyone at the table. We were all like, did we just have a stroke? Like, she just said, it took me so long to even like process that you thought it was a pet, because she does have a cat, she has a pet.
I feel like Ashley, our other Ashley, looked at me and was like, I can't believe you're my boss. I feel like Ashley's husband was like, I can't believe this is your boss.
Ryan was
like, this is why I don't sleep with you.
Tessa quit. It took everyone a minute to digest. Like, I was like, did I hear her?
The waitress was like, I can't wait on you guys anymore. She's been overserved. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was going to leave the restaurant. It's the hardest I've laughed in 2023. fish don't get sick. There's no antibiotics for fish. As it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, that's the
you can't put it back
thing
in. And
I've ever
it was
said.
so cute because you just really sounded so
meant it.
concerned. I know. It was like, well, because Anna has had to like take her cat to the vet before. Like, you know, we care about the people that work for us and their pets. Obviously, we're pet lovers. And so you were like, is your fish sick?
I really meant that shit.
Unbelievable.
That's the dumbest. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever said in my whole life. It was just one of those moments. It's so ditzy. It's so like deeply ditzy. I love it.
Yes. Okay. Well, we are going to wrap this up and get into the interview. I am so excited to talk about AG1 as I sit here talking like I'm dying. This is, again, something that I really do rely on. And I guess I missed a couple days because my immune system failed on me. But we really love it. I mean, taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should be simple. And this is just a really easy, simple thing to add into your daily routine. Just 1 scoop of AG1 mixed in water once a day, every day. And it's going to make you feel more energized, more focused, more nourished, strong, ready to take on the day. And that is because each serving of AG1 delivers a daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more. It's just a really powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. We love talking about healthy habits on the first of the year. And again, we mentioned this last year too. And it's just one of those things of like, why not try it and see if you notice a difference? Like, I really feel like I have got to keep my immune system strong so I don't get sick because we run ourselves so ragged and we're like traveling, we're in and out of airports and on planes and just around so many different people and really work ourselves really hard. And this is like something that I really do rely on. And, you know, we talk about aging, like healthy aging shouldn't feel complicated. So I think sometimes people picture like a giant pill box and all these things they need to take. And of course you can do whatever works for you, but that can be exhausting. So you really just have your 1 daily scoop of AG1 covers your nutrient gaps and supports your mental and physical health without a lot of hassle. So in just 60 seconds every morning, I know I'm giving my body what it needs and setting up sustainable habits for the long run. No better time like the present to try it. So if there was one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. And that's why we've partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/GGE. That's drinkag1.com/GGE. Check it out.
Yes, and last but not least, this is perfect for resolutions. With HelloFresh, you choose yummy meals and your delivery date. All you do is open your weekly box and get cooking. HelloFresh takes care of the rest. Go to hellofresh.com/GGE free and use the code GGE free for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. So if your resolution is to save money, eat better, stress less, learn how to cook, HelloFresh has it all. There's so much to choose from. They send you pre-portioned ingredients. The recipes are super easy to follow. I just think it's really fun. It's easy to do for a date night, if you have friends over, if you have kids. And then there's all kinds of stuff you can choose from. They have calorie smart options, protein smart options. They have 15-minute meals. So really so much. And I'm just looking at what they have right now.
Ooh.
Creamy garlic herb chicken, penne with beef and zucchini ragu,
Yum.
1 pan Santa Fe pork tacos.
So they're Hall of Fame. Like I said, Hall of Fame. If it says Hall of Fame, you cannot go wrong. But that Santa Fe pork tacos, like I switched the meat on that. So I'll get like their beef, which we are obsessed with HelloFresh beef. They might have other options like turkey or whatever, but you can always sub out the proteins, which I love.
And they just make it so easy. It's really step by step. And I've never had a recipe from them I didn't love. It wasn't so creative and fun. It really will impress anybody. And maybe you're just looking to add some new cooking skills to your repertoire. So you will love it. Check it out. Go to hellofresh.com/GGE free and use the code GGE free for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at hellofresh.com/GGE free with code GGE free.
Okay, let's get into our interview.
Yes.
All right, guys, we are so excited to kick off the year with an amazing guest. She is a writer, an editor. She's been roasting other people's writing for about an hour.
Yes, she's a roast master of other people's
She's
writing.
a comedian. She's like, that was an interesting choice.
That's an interesting choice.
She's a comedian. She is the host of Pulling the Thread podcast. Previously, she was the chief content officer of Goop, where she co-hosted the Goop podcast and the Goop Lab on Netflix. She herself has interviewed hundreds of thought leaders, doctors, and experts in various fields. She co-wrote 12 books, including 5 New York Times bestsellers, but her first book under her own name is out. You can get it in your hands now. On Our Best Behavior, The 7 Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good. It was an instant New York Times bestseller. It's our topic today. We are are so excited to have her here. Please welcome to the show, Elise Loehnen.
Thank you. I'm delighted.
Raina, hot intro.
It's hot.
All year, bring that energy.
Do
I mean,
not
there's a lot to say.
There is a lot to say.
At least you have the street cred to roast other people's writing. You have the credentials to do so.
To be fair.
You picked up this magazine that we're in and you were just like, it's an interesting stylistic choice.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. I'll send that guy a memo.
That's what you're here for, is to talk about this article of us from 2 years ago.
But we're enthralled with everything that you do. And we're going to talk about your book today. We've both been reading it. But yeah, it's very interesting. We were just talking to you about writing books with celebrities and the process and how you do it and, get into their head, master their voice, I guess. So it was just, you have a really exciting, fun career.
Thank you.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah. I mean, you have to live your life. What's the saying? You live your life forward, but you can only really understand it by looking backwards.
Okay.
When I think back on what I've done, I'm like, that's interesting. In the moment, I'm very rarely gobsmacked, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've had a pretty interesting life and I've had a million careers. So it's part of it.
That's why I asked, because I feel like Raina laughed.
Because I was like, at the other end of that question is like, do you feel like this is cool or are you like dead inside?
She answered appropriately. She was like, yeah, kind of. When I'm in it, I feel dead inside.
When I'm in it. When I'm with Gwyneth Paltrow and Lauren Conrad, I feel nothing. But looking back, I feel like that was neat.
Yeah. No, people are people, right? I think maybe I am dead inside, guys.
No. So we both read your book and we were listening to you on Kate Kennedy's podcast, which I just kept being like, this is so profound. I took so many notes. I wanted to like self-edit, but the book is so interesting about like what makes women quote unquote good. And you also dive in so much into like what makes a quote unquote good man and what we value in society. And it's just so fascinating. We're really excited to get into it with you, but maybe we could start with like why you wrote this book.
Yeah. I wrote this book again, as you mentioned, I'd written 12 books for other people. I love being a ghostwriter. I love standing behind other people and celebrities, et cetera, and being behind the scenes. That's always how I've seen myself. And it really wasn't until my 39th year that I realized that maybe this is a pattern I needed to break and that I could stand in front of my own work. So it was a convergence of many factors, including COVID, but also wanting to attend to this lifelong anxiety disorder. It started actually, maybe not lifelong, started in my 20s when I was a magazine editor in New York. And I started to have it's called chronic hyperventilation. People who are listening might identify this in themselves and not actually know that it has a name. But it is when you are overbreathing, your lungs are full, but you have the sensation in your mind, at least, that you can't take a full or deep breath. So you sort of half breathe and you hit a wall. And then it creates panic and anxiety. And I can do this for months at a time. And it first started when I was at Condé Nast and I was in a really horrible work situation and I didn't know how to get myself out of it. And I ended up in the ER and convinced I was going to die. And was told, it's all in your head, something that many of us hear, but
women specifically,
have a glass of wine.
Yeah. Have a glass of wine. No, he was like, take some Xanax,
right?
Just some benzos, no big deal. But I opened the book in a scene where I'm at my therapist's office. I'd been in a protracted hyperventilation period for months. And we were really I was trying to understand what was haunting me, this feeling that I'd never be safe. I'd never be secure. I'd never be enough. All the enoughs, not good enough, smart enough, thin enough, wealthy enough, all of those things. And essentially in that process of evaluating, like, what is it? What is this thing that's chasing me? That was the genesis for this book, wanting to answer that question. Because I realized, actually, I'm not alone. I think that this is a voice in many women's heads.
Yeah. The word enough, I think, is something I think about a lot. And like, I have to tell myself, like, you're doing enough, like you can stop, you can enjoy your life. Like, I don't know. I think about that a lot. Like, you are enough, but also like you're doing enough. And so I like that was like what came of it with the conversation with your therapist.
I think it was in an interview I was listening to you talk about, like, quote unquote, being at capacity and why do we run ourselves ragged to be at capacity as though we're a machine.
Yeah.
Am I being a good enough wife and a mother? Am I working hard enough? And sometimes Ashley and I'll just be like, I I don't have anything left.
Yeah.
And that's also in the Beyonce movie.
Oh, really?
She opens it with that. Like, we are not machines and
She
we
stole
act
it.
like it.
She stole it from Lee.
God. Beyonce.
How could she? But yeah, she's
Unbelievable.
just
See, I
like,
thought you were better than
I
this.
can't do all this. Like, I'm beyond capacity. Yeah.
Barbie movie cribbed my book too.
Oh, honestly, I was reading your book and I heard the Barbie monologue in my head.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm kidding.
But your book is very much like that. It's about,
very
as
much.
women, I thought about a lot in talking about like being desirable, which we'll talk about. The women are supposed to be desired and desirable, but not desire other things. And
Yes.
this male gaze thing, you're not supposed to be a slut. You're just supposed to look like you might be one. But
well,
you
you're
can't
not
be
supposed
one.
to be sexual, but you're supposed to look sexy.
Yeah.
So there's so many just like oxymorons and just like confusing ideas when it comes to being a woman.
Yeah. So was that the catalyst for, I want to write this book, essentially? Or at least starting to think about it?
Yeah. What I wanted to answer some big questions that I had about my own life. Namely, you can look at the lack of equity for women across culture. And obviously there are reasons for this, and it's baked into our legal system, and there's a pay gap and there's a wealth gap. And yes, all of that is true. And there are pernicious men in the midst, predators, etc. But I essentially, when I looked at my own life, I'm like, I've actually been surrounded by a lot of amazing men and boys. I've had incredible bosses who are men. And I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, it didn't explain the gap in what I see across culture. And what I wanted to understand was like, what is it in me? How am I policing myself? How am I policing other women? Why is that our instinct so frequently for women to police other women and keep each other small? Where does that come from? And how can I address that in myself? That was one of the big questions, was, what is this? What is this? Why do we do this to each other?
I love that.
It's so interesting. And you talk about, of course, some of it comes from religion, but like if you didn't grow up with any religion, how did I still internalize these ways I'm supposed to be?
Well, and the patriarchy. I mean, we were joking, you do 21 pages of a condensed whole history of the patriarchy. It is, why did I forget this word again?
patriarchy?
You say it's
Toxic
the most
masculinity.
Gent and academic.
The most
check.
academic. I'm like, am I that stupid? It's the most academic part of the book. So that is part of it. But I really like what you said. I mean, and we're going to go through these 7 deadly sins one by one. But yeah, there are definitely these like women on women crime parts of it.
Yeah.
You know, especially when we come to like the jealousy and the slut shaming and things like that.
Exactly.
And the meanest things people have ever said to us have been from women. Don't get it twisted. I mean, men will be like, you're fat and ugly, whatever.
Women
but, like,
are just like want to cut you to your core.
Yeah. So
No. And that was a big genesis for really wanting to understand it. Why do we do that? Because you'll be told, right? Like, that's just how women are. Women are catty bitches.
No.
And no, it's culture.
Mhm.
It's culture. It's not nature. It's impossible to pull those two things apart, but it's culture. So what is that? Why do we do that? And I really wanted to get at it. And you mentioned the patriarchy. It's another concept. It's a word that we throw around. And for me, at least, I was like, I don't even know what is it? What is patriarchy? And we talk about it. It's like it, they, there.
Right, it's in the air. But
It's
what
in
is
the
it?
air. And it's like, is it Mitch McConnell? Like, what is it?
Wait, I love that you said that because do you sometimes say it and feel like a fraud? Like someone's going to ask you what it
Like
is?
if someone's like, define it, do it now.
I know what I'm saying, but I'm like, you we're like, it's patriarchy. If someone were to be like, can you break that down for me? I'd be like, oh, I just gotta jump on a call. I'd like leave. I was like, maybe another time. Okay, bye. Like,
No, but it's become this sort of boogeyman, right?
Right.
Like, what is it? Where did it start? Is this how it's always been, where we're in a male-led, patriarchal culture? No, it's actually not how it's always been. It's not a foregone conclusion. We're far more creative and partnership-based than that. But I wanted to sort of not puncture patriarchy, but actually understand what it is that we're talking about and how does it live on in us. And you mentioned religion. The book, even though it's about the 7 deadly sins, is a secular book. My dad's Jewish. My mom's a recovering Catholic. I grew up in Montana going to services in a Methodist church. I had to look up the sins.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were.
you just got to watch the movie 7.
Exactly.
Well, they're
That was
not
my
in the
main
Bible.
reference point. They're not in the Bible.
I know. That's what's great. I know. That was a hot take in the book.
That's what's so crazy. They're not even in the Bible.
Mhm.
But they've been fed to us. They're part of culture.
Right.
And then we whisper these things into each other's ears. And the way that we pass culture on is, how we establish our own behavior and then enforce behavior in other people.
So to be clear, don't you feel like we are in a patriarchal society, or you don't? Okay, I just want to make it clear because people haven't read the book. I don't want them to think that we're saying like, no, the patriarchy's fake. It's all women on women crime. So I want to be clear.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's 100% a patriarchy. But the thing about, and this is maybe too far in the weeds, but we're all enforcing and enabling the patriarchy. And there's a lot of internalized patriarchy in me.
Right.
And
Women
that's
are
what I
too.
wanted to understand.
Yes.
Women can behave in very patriarchal ways.
Yes.
Right. So I think the thing that is really interesting, maybe we can wrap this conversation around it, is like, what do we value in men to make it a quote unquote good man? And what do we value in women today that makes a quote unquote good woman? And then we can talk about maybe where that came from. So like when we say like a good woman, like what do we value in women?
The whole book is about how women are programmed for exactly that, for goodness, but as an external idea of what it is to be a good woman. A good woman needs no rest. A good woman has no appetite, no desire, no need for affirmation or praise. She's never upset about anything.
Jealousy. Yeah.
She has no wants. She's happy to subjugate all of her wants to other people's needs.
Sure. Endless capacity to do for others, but never needs anything for yourself.
Yes. A good woman is in service to the world, while a man is in the world. And men are conditioned and programmed for power, which can be very insidious too. I think men are victims of patriarchy as well.
Yeah. You said this thing about like the consequences of breaking those norms, and that like women, the worst thing in the world that you can do is like have a bad reputation. Like that's so terrible for a woman, but men can have, and I'm taking your words, men can have terrible reputations and we forgive it if they're powerful.
And we might love them for it.
Yes.
So
Donald Trump.
women, the worst thing you can do is, assault a woman's reputation, say she's a bad person, bad mother, toxic coworker,
Slut.
mean, slut, lazy, all of those things. And all it takes is the intimation, like the idea of that, for a woman to be perceived as bad and in many ways irredeemable.
Irredeemable. Right. Like, I mean, you bring up one of the ones that I still think about, which was Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. And I think about it all the time. It ruined her career.
Yeah.
This thing that happened. And it did nothing for the man involved.
I think about it with Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. Her sex tape came out, it ruined her career, was the end of it, even though she was a playmate.
Yeah.
And I think about it, we were talking about this yesterday, so weirdly this came up, but I don't want to put him on the spot. These claims have never been substantiated, but Ben Roethlisberger, who was the quarterback of the Steelers, was accused of violently sexually assaulting multiple women, but it was never substantiated in court, but he won a bunch of Super Bowls. People don't think about this at all. They don't talk about it because he's powerful, he's successful.
Yeah. No, the only time, I mean, men can do truly terrible, heinous things, and we will still revere them so long as we think they're powerful. It's only weakness that we abhor in men.
And I mean, of course, it's like we've taken some down, thank God, but way too late.
Ish.
After so much damage is done. Yeah, after they're about to die.
Or they're not in power.
Right.
They're irrelevant.
Yes.
Right? Only then are they vulnerable. It's actually stunning when you look at it and when you think about, it's not even a double standard. It's just different standards.
It's different standards. Right.
Yeah.
I thought a lot about reading this, like how my decision making was all formulated by this. And I don't think of myself as somebody who conforms to the societal norms of being a woman. I was raised by somebody that said, ask questions, push boundaries, don't take no for an answer. Your opinions are valid. Sex isn't a bad thing. I was not raised by these constraints. I did not grow up a people pleaser, but all my decisions were still formed around the society I grew up in. Like, to say that this didn't affect me is not true.
Right.
Culture is so strong and insistent. And same, I grew up with liberal parents who gave me a, progressive education, sort of anti-patriarchal peace protesters, right? And yet this is still so alive in me, which is why I really, really wanted to understand it. Because you guys love therapy. I love therapy. I'd done a lot of therapy and I was constantly trying to place things. And I would find myself in therapy sort of blaming my mother and then having my therapist say, okay, so tell me about the time when you felt silenced by her. I'm like, wait, what? No, my mom never. Like my mom would never silence me. But I think so many of us are conditioned to think like, oh, we can find this in ourselves. We can find this in our parents. But it's culture. Culture has the biggest impact on who we are.
Yeah, I know. I think about that a lot, of the things that shaped me in this way. And it was like absolutely culture stuff that was happening at school, like things like that, as opposed to what was like really happening at home. Because I definitely grew up with, I don't know, I just never cared about being like good or well behaved or like I didn't subscribe to any of this. So it was like when things like this happen, you're like, that's just in my surroundings.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think like an easy example for people is thinking about anger and how boys and girls are raised to understand anger. And you can just think about how contagious this is as a cultural norm that's then sold to us as who girls are and who little boys are. So kids have a lot of natural aggression. Boys push, yell, shout, shove, right? It's just boys will be boys. That's what they do. And girls, meanwhile, are told, like, girls don't do that. And you don't see other girls doing that and normalizing that behavior. And so all of our aggression typically comes out in covert ways. Whisper networks, alliance building, backstabbing. It has to go somewhere.
I think about like the consequences of not adhering to those things as well. Like I was somebody who I didn't put myself in a box. I said crazy stuff about sex and the world, and I remember being made fun of for it. Like, you never know what she's going to say. Like, right. I just wasn't this like quiet person. Or I looked really sexual when I was very young. I had huge tits when I was 12. And girls made fun of me and called me a slut. And I'd never even held hands with a boy. But like, I got made fun of for looking sexual.
Yeah.
So like, there are consequences, I think, to not adhering to these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we want to go through some and maybe not deep dive on every one, but I think also people are like, what are the sins again? Like, should we just do like sloth, envy, pride, gluttony, greed, lust, anger. And then you added in sadness here, which is like,
it was on the list
borderline
originally.
One?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's amazing takeaways in all of them. I would love to talk about envy. And also you break down jealousy versus envy, which I found really interesting too. And I think this is a lot of things of like, even more with social media and just, you know, I feel so lucky to have grown up really without it. You know, I got through college without having social media and then even years after that without Instagram. And I can't imagine growing up in these formative years and seeing what everyone else has and what you want. And so I just think it's really interesting and like how to also use it to guide you talk about.
Yeah. This is my favorite chapter. I think it's the most potent chapter. And it's funny because it was also a part of the genesis of the book and this comment that Lori Gottlieb had made where she says that she tells her clients to pay attention to their envy because it shows you what you want. And it was just a small mention in her book, and maybe you should talk to someone, but it was one of those moments I just couldn't stop thinking about it for two reasons. One, I had this immediate, like, I don't have any envy. Gross. Ooh, like, ugh, you know, I would never, right? I would never. And which was full of information for me. Obviously, I do. And then also I realized, like, I don't know what I want, actually. I have no idea what I want. So it started a little bit of a healthy crisis in me as I really thought about that. And when I asked her about it, when I asked her about envy and how you can sort of sense that it's present, she talked about how we tend to deprecate each other. You know, you have all this bad feeling and you want it out of your own body. And so you put it on the person who's making you feel bad about yourself. So that's the instinct to sort of say, ugh, she bothers me. I don't like her. Who does she think she is? Oh, her book sucked. Clearly, I'm envious of the writer of this podcast magazine. Just kidding. So why I'm criticizing his writing. It's actually full of information because the person is grating on your nerves or tormenting you because they have something or they're doing something that you want for yourselves. And so I think that the reason that this is so rampant amongst women in particular is because we're conditioned to think that envy is bad. So we repress and suppress and deny it. And we don't have any comfort of working with it and saying, what dream is being pushed on right now? What's trying to come through me? What's alive in me? And the more comfort we get with that process, I think the less we place it on another woman by criticizing her. And the thing is, because you hear it all the time, right? Like, she just sucks. I don't know. I can't cite any behavior, but I just don't like her.
Some people do suck.
Some people do suck.
I was waiting for you to say it.
No, and you're completely allowed to dislike people. But I bet that you could say, oh, I really hate that woman. I find her demeaning. I find she's really insulting. Like, there's
you could
behavior.
name it. Yes,
totally.
you can name it. Yeah.
Well, I think about it. We do have it really good. I would never go on like any internet forums and read horrible comments about myself, but nobody really leaves terrible comments about us. We're really lucky. But every time I see one, I think like, why am I bothering you so much? You could just ignore me.
Exactly.
Ashley and I would cease to exist if you decided to not listen to our 2-hour show per week.
Well, and you can usually dig a little deeper in the comment.
Yeah.
So you're so full of yourself while you don't like that I'm confident. You know, you have this in the book too. You use you use an example of this like kid on the sidelines at a soccer game, basically, that all the moms were like, look at her. And it was just like, we like don't like big, confident, big in terms of like big personality, taking up a lot of space, confident women and things like that. So it's kind of funny. You can sometimes see in the snarky comment or the email, like where it's actually stemming from that, that I'm bothering you or that someone is bothering you.
It's pretty easy when you get a little bit more literate and actually figuring out what's happening in your own body. What's this discomfort that this person is making me feel? And then when you're on the receiving end of saying, does this land? Is this something I hold against myself, or is this someone else's projection? And if you just start that type of hygiene, even, it can be so helpful. And I'm glad you mentioned pride, because some of the sins really they crash into each other. So pride and envy are closely correlated. And in working on the book and talking to women, there's a lot to say about pride and what we do to women who dare to be seen in our culture. But I would hear frequently, oh, I didn't want my promotion announced because I don't want to inspire any envy, because then I have a target on my back, etc. And then what I'd also say, which I think is so important about envy, and I write about this in the chapter on greed, but this toxic myth of scarcity, which is real for women. Often there's only one person at the boardroom table, there's only one, et cetera. But we've been trained, rather than sort of identifying all the men around the table and saying like, oh, well, I'm going to take your spot. We're just trained to focus on the woman and dethroning her. And so when we see a woman who has something that we want for ourselves, our instinct is to say, oh, because she has it, I can't have it too.
Right.
Rather than, oh, like these guys have a hit podcast. Like I'm going to see what they're doing and I'm going to try and have a hit podcast too.
Yeah. I love that. And Ashley and I always like credit Nikki Glazer for this, because she's this really famous comedian. We had her on the show and she promoted it so heavily. And I love that she doesn't come from a mindset of like, because you get a thing, I don't get that thing too. And I just was really inspired by her. And Ashley and I have always just lived our lives in the podcast of like lifting up other women, I hope, and promoting them. And we were on tour promoting another female comedian's tour. Her name is Heather McMahon. Like, I want to live my life like that. And only good things have come to us because of being like that. I don't think that the podcast didn't suffer, our tour didn't suffer, because we uplift other women that do what we do.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I think it's massive. Exactly what you said. And men understand this, and going straight into sort of the world of podcasting, and you guys operate on a different level than I do, but you look at the men who typically don't really feature women. I don't know if you've ever audited. I've done an audit of popular men's health and wellness shows. It's like startling. It's like 8%, 10% of their guests are women, but they are exceptional at promoting each other.
Yeah, it's like this boys club.
It's a boys club. I think they're all in a WhatsApp. They all help each other, and their dominance only grows. They've only benefited. They've all gotten bigger by virtue of sharing their audience, and there's just no
women.
No corollary on the side of women.
I want to say a couple things. Nikki is also, I thought about Nikki, she's very open about being envious.
Yeah.
Like, and she will openly say, I have to mute that person because I don't want to see it, and for my own mental health. And I think there's something to that too. But I like her openness of like, I'm envious, but she's also probably a person that lets it drive her. And I really love what you said about like not knowing what you want. So using the envy as a guide, you know, I think there's so many people out there like, I don't know what I want. It's like, who are you jealous of?
Yeah.
I like that you said they're all kind of tied together, and the envy, pride, and greed really ties into kind of how I see people treat celebrities too, or anybody really in the public eye. And you talk a lot about flying too close to the sun, which is something that Jamil, who was somebody we've had on the show, and she talks about a lot, how we just like bring women up to tear them down. And you just can't, you have to stay in your lane, and you can get as big as you want in that box, but don't try to break out of it. And just the things that we do to women in the public eye, it's like sickening.
It's stunning. And it's such a playbook. And we all experience so much schadenfreude, you know, like joy plus harm when we see that happen. It's like it gives us a visceral kick, I think, because of that. Who does she think she is? I would never let myself be seen like that. I would never let myself be celebrated. I would never try to fill an arena with fans. And it's such a vicious cycle.
What I relate this to is like you see a lot of podcasts specifically, like if you read like reviews, in the beginning they're all positive, and then after a couple years, every single review is this used to be good. They've changed.
You've changed.
It's every female podcast I've ever read their reviews.
100%.
Like,
The second people hear an ad, you've sold out. Right.
Oh,
Was this supposed to be for just...
oh, let me just make no money forever just to make you happy. I think it's so interesting because I see this a lot, even in podcasts that like Crime Junkies. They don't even talk about themselves, but like people will write stuff like this used to be good. They're so full of themselves about all female podcasts, and it's hysterical because it's like I'm just supposed to stay less successful to make you happy.
And some people do change, and some people become different than when they started. But Rain and I have watched this throughout the years with our own and with everyone else. Like it really is also a formula there. And then the way that people want to tear women down the second they see that you've gotten some success. And I feel like we have more women though unapologetically saying they want to take over the world, which I think is great. And, you know, actually being like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do all the things. And I think of like the trifecta of like Taylor, Beyonce, and Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
And like, I think they are three. And I think I don't like to talk so much about celebrities because that's not relatable to the average person, but it's the language that we use surrounding them.
And this is what I think is so interesting about what you said. They're not relatable. And so I think that what we do is we watch these women, these famous women, and I chronicle the ascent and descent of a few of them, but it's so easy. I mean, you could just think of any woman and you can see the trajectory in which she is celebrated until she hits a point of relevancy. And then we decide collectively that she's too big for her britches, or she needs to be put back in her place, or she's had enough. And then we destroy her. And then sometimes we wait for the comeback, hashtag Free Britney, or we revere them, you know, Amy Winehouse or Billie Holiday or Princess Diana after they're dead. But for the most part, it's just a trajectory that we can see. And then we say, well, they're famous, so we can't really relate to them. But the reality is it's a playbook for the rest of us. And that's the cultural norm setting to which we then all have to abide. And so you look at female founders, you look across culture, and this is the pattern. It's the same pattern. It's just not as visible as what happens to Anne Hathaway, right? Or years after her, Jennifer Lawrence. But it's repeatable. And I like also what you said, and going back to Nikki Glaser talking openly about her envy, because the way to change the culture and the way to change the norm is for all of us to push against it and to talk openly about our envy and to start to diagnose it so that other people know what we're talking about, and to be openly proud of ourselves and to refuse to go away when people decide they've had enough and we need to be quiet.
Totally.
I love that. Like I've had this fear with Taylor Swift of like, it's too much. Now she's on Monday Night Football and like, it's going to be this over exposing, but then she's the Time Person of the Year being like, I don't give a fuck. I was just there to watch my boyfriend play football. Like she's in her, I don't give a fuck era.
But she also has the Swifties.
I know.
It's in response to that pattern recognition that I don't know enough about this to pretend like I know what I'm talking about, but I'll try. But the Swifties, I feel like they formed as a way to defend and protect her because they knew that otherwise this is exactly what would happen to her.
Absolutely. I do think that it's changed a little bit. I know it's not like cool to say like boss babes anymore. It's embarrassing, but like, but I'm on TikTok. I'm in the culture.
No, MLMs ruined that term. I feel like boss babes would still be cool if like, everyone who didn't sell like a pyramid scheme product didn't start taking it for
If you have 3,000 Instagram followers, you're not boss babe. Okay, you don't get to own by just that. Just that virtue doesn't make you a boss babe. But I do think that like the term diva doesn't sound as bad as it used to. I do think that women are talking about their success, but yeah, it's not a popular thing to talk about your money, your need for attention, your success. And I wrote this down that we say like it's coded as negative for women, but we revere men.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that like we come down on women so hard. This like, you know, they used to be different. They've changed. Nobody would blink twice if a man was like, my money, my cars, my Rolex, my bitches. I mean, that's every single man on earth and no one cares.
Exactly.
So I think it's like fun and special to have women be like, I did this. Yeah, I did this. And I don't give a fuck what you think.
So when we come to pride and greed, like how do we shift that to work in our favor? Is it like basically at the end of the chapter, and I can even find, you kind of write like a final quote of like, how do we reframe pride, reframe greed?
Yeah. So I'd say with pride, and this goes back to the envy and the wanting, that, and this might be too woo-woo for some listeners, but try to stay with me. I would argue that we're all uniquely gifted, right? There's a reason that none of us are the same.
Mhm.
And I'm good at things that you're not good at. You're far better at things than I am. And we are all here to bring our gifts to bear. And that wanting, that knocking on the door around what you want, I think is your soul saying, pay attention to this. This is what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
So walk in this path. And I think the way to reevaluate pride is it's essential that we all, particularly at this really fucked up moment in time when it feels like everything's in crisis, it's imperative that we all show up and that we
Mhm.
all bring our gifts to bear and that we get in touch with who we are and that we stop wasting time, keeping each other and ourselves small.
Yeah. And like you said, refusing to go away. And I also think understanding where it comes from, you talk about this, was she like a newscaster or a news anchor and beloved, always booked and just refused to take a compliment and just, always wanted to like dim her light. And she understands that it came from childhood and like getting a lot of attention as a child and her mom being like, don't, make other people jealous and don't make your siblings jealous. And, I think recognizing where that comes from too and being like, that wasn't fair that I was taught that, at a young age to like not shine as bright.
Yeah. And I think that every woman I know has learned this lesson in maybe less overt ways, but the thing that's typically easy for you or where you really shine, where you have ease and grace, often that's what's sort of pushed down so that you don't make other people feel bad. Be humble, stop showing off, don't get a big head. But you're really doing what's in many ways easy for you, right? And we all want to be seen. We all want to be celebrated. It's very human, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to a family member about all the stuff that we had going on in the tour and something. She said to me, like, you don't have to ram it down everybody's throat how hard you're working and how much you've going on. And I was
okay,
like,
Kim.
huh.
We get it, Kim. You work hard.
That's you said the whole season is just the Kim
How
works hard
Kim
show.
works. I'm here for it. Single Kim.
Ashley really loves Kim Kardashian. I've always loved
Kim
her.
Kardashian Esquire.
Ashley is the president of the fan club.
I fucking love it. And people would be like, oh, she can't be a lawyer. She did a sex tape. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Now she wants to help people that are underserved. Like, why can't she? Like, I don't know. I didn't used to be as much of a fan, but I'm like, she's really proving that you can do whatever you want.
waited for her.
I'm jumping in there with you. What she's built is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that people think that you can just become exceptionally famous and build $1 billion brand, that the two are just somehow both easily achieved.
Right.
It's amazing.
Courtney's not impressed. Courtney's like, I'm going to take a nap.
I need a nap, Kim.
And a salad.
Okay,
But anyway,
go back to salad. Okay.
No, I remember this moment. It was like very poignant for me where I was just talking about what we had going on. And like a woman in my family said to me, like, you don't need to ram this down everybody's throat. And I was like, why shouldn't I be able to talk about what I have going on in my life? I'm not inflating anything. That's just my life.
Well, okay. I actually, that comment of you're bragging. Of course, some people can brag, right? It's a tone, it's what you're saying. But like, someone said to me, like, all you do is brag about your relationship. And it's like, I'm just talking about it. This is a sex, dating, and relationship podcast. And that's the person I have sex with, I date, and I have a relationship with. What do you want me to talk about? Like, so it's like that girl should check herself. And like, why do I feel like Ashley's bragging? Like, what is that triggering in me? Because I am not.
No.
I am just sharing, and it is really good. So it's like sharing good things automatically gets turned into bragging somehow, because bragging, that hits different. You know when you see it,
Yeah.
No, it's that discomfort. It's what you're triggering. I know that's an overused therapy word, but whatever is in her that she is feeling as bad, uncomfortable. I need to get this out of my body and I need to place it on you.
Well, you are triggering it on that person because I was sitting here minding my own business. You felt triggered. You came to my job and said something to me.
Yeah. And, men are a huge problem for women. Don't get it twisted, but I think like when we talk about what we want to talk about is like, we want to serve women by sharing these things, like these things that you could be feeling or doing, you can use them to like better your own life as opposed to just like saying mean things and giving negative energy into the world.
I don't want to minimize the role that men have played, but I think that what we tend to do is look for the place to place the blame, which is on men or other women who are grating our nerves rather than identifying it in ourselves. And this is what I would also offer. Yes, we have really problematic systems and a problematic culture in this country. Yes, this is very much a patriarchy. And women have been outperforming boys in school for a century. Women live longer.
Go to
We're more
college more.
physically durable. We're out earning men in degrees all over the place. We're out earning medical degrees, PhDs. You just look and you'll see evidence of women's excellence. The book is essentially about how we outwork men and outperform men. We're better negotiators. We're actually better investors. It goes on and on and on. And part of this is from the fact that we've had to learn how to survive and thrive in a world not built for us, besides our own excellence. I write about this anthropologist, Ashley Montague, who wrote this piece in the 50s called The Natural Superiority of Women, which is funny because it sounds crazy, but he's like, actually, all the scientific evidence is here, so you can't refute this point. Point is, we have it in us. If we can figure out how to get on side with each other, if we can figure out how to get out of our own way, watch out. I don't really think the men are going to be a problem. I guess.
They've actually convinced us to just be a problem for each other.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They're like, we're going to see ourselves out. We've done enough here. You guys break the
We've
place.
planted the seeds. You guys harvest.
Yeah.
Harvest the crop.
And oh God, that's so funny. I just love that you're like, men are not going to be a problem. As soon as we figure this out, men better watch
They're
out.
just not. I mean, women are like boxers who've been training at high altitude.
And you talk a lot. I mean, you're a white woman. We are white women, and you do speak in the book about like women of color and marginalized communities. That like you speak on it. You're not blind to it. You know,
No.
Obviously, we can only speak as,
And it's pernicious and it's real.
yes. So I wanted to acknowledge that too.
I wonder, like, I do like sloth, and I want to go back to because women are just trained to like never take a moment for themselves. And then if you do, I mean, mom shame, I'm not a mom, you can relate to it more, but Elise, not Ashley, just feeling like you have to work and raise the kids and everything falls on you. And like, if you ever voice like, it's too much, I don't want to do this, you are the devil. You are a lazy mom. You're a terrible mom.
But I think we've come a long way in like the self-care era. You know, I think Gen Z has helped here, you know, with the take care of yourself and don't overwork yourself for some company you have no tie to, and self-care and be, you know, bed rot. I don't really relate to the bed rot, but like that's a whole thing too. Like, I don't know. I think we've made some strides, but the moms are like a different animal because that really is still, you really are supposed to do it all.
Yeah, it's insidious because one, like there's endless doing that needs to be done. And then there's just so much anxiety and there's no certainty, right? And so when you have kids, you're convinced, and I think our culture convinces you too, that there's a way to create that certainty by just being a really great and present mother. And one of the other things, I mean, this gets into sort of patriarchal history, but is this idea that's so pervasive and not true, which is that women have a choice. And by choosing to work, you are abandoning your children and that you could choose differently. Well, the reality is, you know, we talk about the 50s. People have all sorts of nostalgia for these single income families, right? Where the mom was Leave It to Beaver. That was a reality in this country for a decade, and it was captured by TV. But the reality is, in order to stay in the middle class, you need a dual income family. This idea that women could not work is not real. And I personally need to work and I want to work. But the way that it's been fed to us is a choice that, yes, your work outside of the house is extra credit because you're really, you know, violating gender codes by not just being a mother is so insistent still and so wrong. And there are so many families led by single mothers too. But it's sort of the double whammy of you're choosing to work And now you need to pay the penance of your absence
Mm-hmm.
by doing even more for your
Mhm.
children and at home.
And what about people that like to work and find value in it and want to
Yes.
find value in themselves and fulfillment outside of their family? And my mom said to me, like, your father made plenty of money, but I would sit at home with this fucking baby all day. She didn't call me a fucking baby, but I was.
You were a fucking
I was a
baby.
fucking baby. And she was like, I would just sit at home with you all day and just talk to no one. And she was like, I was dying to go back to work after 6 months. I didn't talk to anybody all day. And my mom was a great mom, sacrificed a lot, but like had to go to work for her own mental sanity. And I promise you it made her a better mother.
Yeah.
Leaving the house.
But I mean, if that's not your story, then that's fine too.
Yeah,
You know, if
totally.
you don't want to work and you are able to not, you
Good
know,
for you.
and you're still can be a great mom. Like it's
No,
not
it's all about
everybody's story.
choice.
Yeah.
It's like there's just no proper or right way to do it. And
Mhm.
many people don't have a choice, right? So
Mhm.
then
Right.
piling on with the
Right.
anxiety certainly doesn't help anyone. And you talked about sort of that subhead, the myth that mothers matter more. And that's what's also so pernicious. And any same-sex couple just inherently proves this wrong.
Mhm.
And you listen to like Esther Perel's podcast and you listen to her doing therapy with same-sex couples. It's like those dynamics exist regardless of gender,
Mhm.
right? There's
Sure.
usually one parent that's put in a more primary position and the other person has a bigger life outside of the home. But dads are great parents too.
Yeah. But you had a, like scientific evidence that
Yeah.
like they have the same instincts.
And the oxytocin soars.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's just so much maternal gatekeeping. Again, that's like, you should really be the primary parent. And if you guys have kids, you will get that programming that your partner really can't be trusted to change a diaper or feed the baby.
Did you mean us?
Yeah.
We're not
Never.
doing that.
No, probably not for me, but definitely not for Ashley. I think
Ashley always brags about how she doesn't want kids.
It's not a bad choice.
I think about a girlfriend of mine, and this conversation just lives like rent free in my head. She's married to somebody I've known since I was like 12. I've known her since I was like 19. They have a son together. And she was going to take a trip to, I don't know, Arizona or something. And I was like, for 5 nights, you're going to leave your son with your husband? And she was like, I refuse to live a life where I subscribe to this, that my husband cannot get him up in the morning and put clothing on him and get him where he needs to go. And I'm not going to live my life subscribing to that because I'm never going to take a vacation alone again.
I love that.
So important.
I think about it all the time, and it's true. Like I look at her husband, who's incredibly capable, one of the smartest people I know, was a great athlete growing up, a great student. He will be fine.
He's a
with
parent.
his kid. He's an adult.
Yeah. I tell the story in the book about a good friend of mine who we were magazine editors together and she really wanted to be a playwright and she got a job as a writer on Nurse Jackie and she got pregnant accidentally. They were married, but it wasn't planned. And when her son was born at like, I don't know, not many days, I mean, maybe like 2 weeks, she needed to be back in the writer's room. And her husband's also a screenwriter. And he was like, go, you go. And she had mastitis. I mean, it was a mess.
2 weeks?
That's
inhumane.
It was slightly inhumane, but she did it.
Mhm.
And I was like, what happened? And Jeff, to his credit, he was like, it was a disaster and we survived. I think she even had to maybe go to LA. They were living in New York. And they told me the story before I had my first child because they were like, it was a great lesson of he's a better parent than I am. Like, ensure that you have a co-parent, like that you are pushing your husband into that primary, if not close to primary position so that you have equity.
They can do it.
Yeah. And they get a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Create redundancy so you can leave the house.
Yes.
Can we talk about gluttony
Yes.
in women's bodies?
Oh,
I'm so glad. Well, I wrote this thing down that like
girls got to eat, guys. I don't know if you know that, but
It's problematic. No.
My body has it's been like the number one thing on my mind always. Like I said, I developed really young. And so I started taking diet pills to try to be really skinny. And I always thought like about my body and how I showed up. And you wrote, we congratulate ourselves when we resist the donut in the office break room. And the fact that we like congratulate ourselves when like you wanted something.
Yeah.
So anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts.
yeah. I mean, this was probably in some ways both the easiest and the hardest chapter to write because it's the most obvious and pernicious way that women are corralled and the way that we police ourselves. And it's just so big in culture, right? That you have to have a conforming and abiding body. And it's like every time we somehow seem like we're pushing against that or breaking that, it comes back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We've talked about that. Like I've read think pieces and seen, TikToks, of course, about it, of like, was this body positivity movement just fake? Because now we're back into this like skinny is in bullshit, all of it, so
like killing your appetite through Ozempic, which I know is a life-saving intervention for people with type 2 diabetes, and people who need it should absolutely, one, have access to it. But this idea that you could just cut off your appetite is so sad to me, that that's where we're at. That so many of us would rather have just actual medicalized distaste or disinterest in food.
And listen, no shame. Ashley and I are like the number one people that are like, do whatever you want with your body. It's your body.
Like, why are people commenting publicly on if you're on Ozempic or not? That's totally whack.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And also, all these people that have gone on it, I understand why, because people have talked about their bodies for so many years. I was saying to Ashley reposted something about the daughter of a Real Housewife, and she was really heavy, and people made comments about that for years. And now she's on Ozempic, maybe, I don't know. And people are making comments about that. And it's like, you go on Ozempic as a response to what society has already been saying to you about your body.
Yeah. And it goes back to even this idea of body positivity, right? That like the body is so charged for women. You have to be positive, or there's no neutrality. It's so consuming, so front and center, such an essential conversation for women in a way that's, I think, devastating and a waste of our time and energy, And I'm with you, because as much work as I've done, and I don't weigh myself anymore, and I have really tried to unleash myself after being punishing and terrible to myself for most of my life. But this idea of just like, can I just be at peace? And like, how do I get there?
I don't know. People are in therapy their whole lives for it. And I remember, I've had disordered eating issues my entire life, and I would go on a juice cleanse every 5 minutes. I'd start a juice cleanse 5 days a week. And I said to Ashley, we were in Cancun 2 years ago. We were in a cab on the way to the airport. And I said, I think this is the first like beach trip I've ever taken where I didn't like obsess about how I looked and have a meltdown and think about what am I going to look like in front of other people. And like, I got there finally, but it's taken me my whole life. Like leading up to a beach trip, I would have been like obsessing over like, are my hip bones protruding enough? Like, have I been eating really bad this week? It would have been on a constant loop in my head. As I've gotten older, I've been kinder to myself. But like, it's a lifelong struggle to feel like I don't have to be so mean to myself.
Yeah, I know. And one of the things, this one helpful reframe for me was when I was writing the book, my best friend from college was sending me photos of our spring break trips. And I was looking at photos and I was like, God, I had a slamming body. Like I looked amazing. And guess what? I thought I looked like shit. And so I am not a reliable narrator of my own experience or appearance. And I'm just not allowed to pass judgment on myself anymore.
I love that.
Really love that.
That is like, I feel like that's a meme of like when you look back at times you like thought
I wish I was as fat today.
I wish I was as fat as that. Yeah. Or like
the last time I thought I was fat.
I love what you said about it's a waste of our time. Who came out with this recently? Was it like Brooke Shields?
Brooke Shields had a big moment.
Yeah, she was just like, I'm sick of doing this. It's a waste of my time.
Yes.
I'm so boring. It was a waste of my time. Like, it's a waste of my fucking time to worry about my body nonstop.
I relate to this so much. I think about how much this has occupied my time and my self-hatred, and every moment thinking about like every bite of food I put into my body. And it was a waste of my fucking time. I looked amazing and I didn't like myself then. And I'm 20 pounds heavier than I ever was back then, and I look great, and I'm happier now.
Yeah. No, it has been weirdly relieving for me. I'm sure you guys have watched Naked Attraction.
Thank you for bringing this up. Ashley hasn't talked about it in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Elise.
This is her whole personality.
I am so glad we kicked the year off like this, because I have taken 2 weeks off. It is my whole personality. I love that you brought that up. That show was so empowering.
Isn't it?
For a viewer and for the contestants on the show. Like,
everyone.
You'd think they'd leave and be like, that was brutal. Instead, they leave and they're like, I feel more confident than ever that I just was out here with my pussy out getting critiqued.
I watched that show and I was like, I have a perfect vagina. It's amazing. I'm so proud of me. I was so, listen, okay, from somebody who has had 3 breast surgeries to look how she wants to look, I'm allowed to say one thing that was God-given was my little vagina.
I'm totally
No,
kidding. It's just very funny. That's your takeaway. It's your perfect pussy. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, sis.
No, but it's
what do you want to say about it?
I mean, just the variety is incredible. And the people's preferences and what they're into, I find so refreshing and unexpected. And I don't know, I've found the whole thing to be, I mean, I'm not going on Naked Attraction. I'm married and I'm in my nobody wants to see that, but I'm like, I could do that. And I think I would have
first
a
of all, don't
validating
say that. No one wants to
experience.
see it.
I mean,
because
my husband wants to see it, but it goes to sort of the point as someone who has valued, prioritized, venerated really thin bodies and wanted that. And I'm a tall person. I'm not someone that anyone would ever call small. You know, I've never been
Same.
that person. Yeah, same. I'm not petite at all. To watch too that like almost invariably like the skinniest girl gets kicked off first. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it really is fascinating to watch, and I want to tread lightly, like because we don't want to like have our bodies be like for men, you know what I mean? But if you are a woman and you're a straight woman and you are looking for a male partner, you know, you're thinking about it. What is going to make me attractive to somebody? But you realize how little they care about like super thinness. I guess
apparently it does not rate. And it's part of it, you know, because my husband's always like, what are you talking about? And like, I like your body a little bigger and da 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 da. And I'd never take him at his word. And then as you know, I'm probably 20 pounds heavier than I was before I had kids. And then watching that show, I'm like, oh my God, he's actually telling me the truth.
And then some people really want somebody thin, and that's fine too. You know, for the women that are listening, they're like, wait, don't like skinny shame. Like one of our best guy friends, if his wife gets too thin, he'll start sending her pizzas. He hates it.
That's amazing.
He is just like, I want her pregnant body back. Like
Every time I say that I'm in a workout class, he launches into a mile. Don't get too skinny. I don't like it when my wife gets too skinny. You got to have an ass. I'm like, I took a workout class. Like, this isn't a problem.
He's like such a good friend of ours, and I don't want this to come across wrong, but he'll sometimes be like, Hess, your ass is smaller. And he's like, I don't like it. Like, and I'm over here like, I feel so skinny today. He reminds me that like, don't do it. You know what I mean?
He doesn't like when I take one workout class. I'm not fucking him.
Yeah. No, but it points to how insidious it is. And I think, I don't want to skinny shame. One of my best friends is like, she can't gain weight. So I feel sensitive
totally
on her behalf. And everyone is constantly trying to intervene on her, you know, and it's like, leave her alone.
Leave me alone.
I mean, that's the reality too. It's like the way that we think that we should be able to influence the size and shape of our bodies is actually so strange. We do have, I guess, some modicum of control, but like you can't change the shape or size of your feet or your penis or your hands or, you know, like there's so much that we can't, we just are who we are. And yet we spend most of the energy of our life trying to be different.
Well, you write about how pointless, if that's the right word, like dieting is. Don't you? Did I read that last night?
Yeah.
Like it's like a fool's errand, essentially.
Fool's
like
errand.
the way that we're trying to diet.
Well, the
way you break it down is interesting.
Yeah, every diet intervention is a failure inherently. Like you're never not on Weight Watchers, right? Like it's rigged against the player of the game. It's not actually achievable. You're never there. There's no there.
Where is there?
Yeah.
Right. We had an instructor from Peloton on, and I think I was talking to her about it during the episode, but working out was the thing that like made me actually start to accept my body so much more because I was like, I'm working hard to be healthy. I haven't lost a ton of weight. I'm probably the same weight that I was most of this podcast, but I know that my body is how it's supposed to when it's the healthiest. I eat pretty much what I want. I eat healthy, but mostly what I want, and I work out, and I'm proud of the body that I've achieved because I'm like, this is what it's supposed to look like, unless I make crazy extreme changes like Ozempic. But like, I'm proud that I worked for this, and I know that I'm healthy, and this is how it's supposed to look.
Yeah. And we talked with Dr. Amen about this too, of just like the food you choose to eat that makes you feel good. Like sometimes it's great to indulge in whatever, however you want to eat is your business. But, you know, we do things that kind of, we're punishing ourselves. So I think like part of like, when you really choose to love your body, you can do things that make it feel good in terms of like health wise. And I think that's the answer.
Yeah. And distinguishing between the two. I mean, for example, I went to an event for my book last night and I got home at 9:30 and I hadn't had dinner and I'd made my kids turkey tacos, very gourmet. But at like 10:30, I was like pounding a bowl of turkey taco stuff with like sour cream and cheese and chips. And I like pounded it. And then I know it was delicious. And then I had half a pint of Jenny's peanut butter chocolate chip ice cream.
Whoa, what a night.
I want to stay at your house.
I know. But I was like, oh, that was delicious. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I feel really bad. I almost felt like hungover, having not had anything to drink. And I was like, okay, I can differentiate now that I actually feel a little physically unwell versus shame. And
Yes.
I've like gotten rid of the shame. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't do that. I should have had something a little lighter at 10 o'clock at night. And I don't feel well, but it's not because it's emotional.
Yeah, I love the distinction. I mean, I like my body more than ever. I really don't deprive myself. I listen to my body. I really like practice intentional eating, and I indulge here and there. And yeah, sometimes I eat too much and feel sick and wake up. We went to Carbone and I was like, I have a food hangover. I didn't even drink that much. It was a pasta hangover.
It happens to us.
But
yeah, we feel stuff the next day.
For years, it was just like so extreme. It was just like indulge, binge drink, binge eat, and then have to diet. Like it was just the highs and lows. And a lot of that's being young. I think I outgrew some habits. I think I looked back and realized times when I was eating because I wasn't happy. And I think you can reflect on a lot of that as you grow up. I don't know. I just kind of worked on it a lot to like realize my relationship with food. But I really love what you're saying of being like, it wasn't that it was shame. Like we can't, beat ourselves up.
Yeah. And I learned a lot from James Clear last year. We had him on and he talks about, your habits and how to change them. And that like, just because you do something for a little while doesn't mean you can't pivot. And I used to feel like, oh my God, it's 10:30 at night and I've eaten all this food. I drank 2 glasses of wine and I'm drunk and I'm going to eat the whole thing in the refrigerator. And I would wake up the next morning and be mad at myself. And now I wake up and I'm like, okay, well, I did it. I'll work out today, or I'll take a walk, or I'll not fucking be mad about it and think about it anymore. Like, this isn't my whole personality now that we stand in front of the refrigerator with no shirt on and eat everything in here. Like, tomorrow I'll make a different choice and I won't be mad at myself about it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've been fed this idea, and I've been working on a special series on my podcast about addiction and going into sort of the moderation movement and how often people get to abstinence. But this idea of moderation is so much less terrifying to people. But it also gets at this idea that you're out of control or you're in control. Like you're practicing perfect abstinence or you're a full-blown person with addiction. And that's how women treat ourselves with food and our bodies as well. It's like I write about Janine Roth and her work with women and eating and compulsive overeating, because she talks about how women, all of us, are on the spectrum of permitting and restricting all the time. And that we treat ourselves like we're crazy people, that there's some maniac inside that needs to be sort of guarded by a prison warden that's going to get out and just like eat the whole content of the refrigerator. But this is what's in our minds, that if we aren't checked, if we're not disciplined, if we're not writing ourselves really hard and watching ourselves, that we'll be just out of control with our eating and our sloth. And it's a terrible way of looking at ourselves rather than like, I'll be fine.
I know. That's really how I used to live. I'd have to like plan. Like if I was going to go on a vacation or a bachelorette, I knew I was going to go so hard. And then like I would come back and then just feel like a different person the Monday after, just like couldn't fit in my clothes. I'm like sluggish and everything. And now it's like, no, you can live a life that's more moderate than that.
Yeah.
And I don't have to come back from a thing.
You can like trust yourself.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
I think that's kind of a theme of a lot of the book, and I think that like going to the new year, it's just important to remind yourself to like go a little easier on yourself and be kinder to yourself. And that we talked about this a lot this year. It's very like LA woo, but like your body hears the stuff that like your brain tells it.
Yeah.
And if you like look at yourself all the time and you're like, I'm out of control. I'm not doing enough. I need to work harder and do better at everything. Like you hear those things about yourself. You believe those things. They become true. Yeah. And the more we say it, the more true it becomes to us.
Yeah. And when I was pitching this book, before I started writing it, some of the editors who I spoke to about it thought it should be a stunty book, right? That I should spend a year of my life being lustful, gluttonous, lazy, etc., and write it sort of in that vein. And I was like, I don't think that's the point.
It's extreme.
It's extreme. And the whole point of the book is, rather than suppressing and denying and restricting and ignoring and maligning all of these instincts that make us human and allow us to have contact with the world, right? Like eating and drinking and having sex and experiencing our bodies, rather than pretending like those instincts and desires aren't present and real, like bring them into balance. You don't have to go wild, but you also can't deny that they're part of who you are.
Well, that leads us into lust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't relate. I never have any lust. I'm a pure virgin. No, it's like, that's a funny
She's a drunk slut, and so was I.
Yeah, you can only be one or the other. There's just two extremes as women. You
Drunk
can either be
slut?
the like virginal. Yeah.
Oh.
I wrestled with it a lot growing up. I've been these stuff. People were just like, we gotta eat big boobs. But like, I looked really lusty as a
Were you sexual or were you
No.
just sexy?
No, I was just sexy. I had a lot of attention from boys, and you develop an interesting relationship with attention because you're getting a lot of attention for this, but it's not attention you really want, but you like the attention, but it really informs how you act in the world. And then, yeah, I was a little more sexualized than other kids, I think, because of stuff I saw in like chat rooms on the internet and stuff. And I started masturbating earlier, and yeah, like girls called me a slut for how I looked, and I don't know. Anyways,
I think that that's so huge because you mentioned at the beginning this idea that girls and women are taught to be desirable but not desiring. And I think that we're also conditioned to believe that we should be sexy and be objects of desire, right? But not actually be sexual. I think sexual girls and women are terrifying to the culture, right? We don't want to see a woman who's really in her body, who knows what she wants and is like, I want to fuck, right? It's becoming more normalized now, thanks to people like you and Emily Morse. But for the most part, there's still so much stigma around, yes, be desirable, be an object of desire, care about your body, etc. But like, I don't want to hear about your conquest. I don't want to hear about your appetite for men or women. It's a strange twist, I think for women, where I would like to see the opposite, like highly sexual, highly, embodied women who really know what they want and can talk about it clearly and ask for it and demand it, who are less obsessed with appearing sexy.
This is the thing I think that makes men mad more. Like in what I see on the internet, doing what we do, me doing stand up, like this is when you see the men get into the comments or, get into the messages of like, how dare you say you want to fuck.
I don't think women really subscribe to that as much. My girlfriends are like, I love hearing your stories.
Yeah.
Tell me what a slut you're being, I think we've championed that women to women more in the last few years.
We've championed that. Yeah, just it seems like men are bothered.
What do you think that is?
That we don't want to fuck them? No, I'm kidding. It's like very like incel behavior to me to like comment on women that are talking about sex. It's like as a female stand-up comedian, it like makes me feel crazy. It's like the comments are just
they're like, that's our thing.
Yeah.
It might be incel. It might be that
I think some are.
Nobody wants to have sex with them.
I think some are. I mean, a lot of it is just they're really bothered by it because of the way they were brought up. Women are supposed to talk about this. Like they're just supposed to be kept women and not be sexual and, sleep with one partner. It's bothers them. Like I think it challenges their belief system of what a woman should be.
And I think that the way that the women on women hate or the problematic behavior pattern for girls and women in sexuality is when we don't believe women or when we say like, what were you wearing and how much did you have to drink? And going to this idea of in our culture, it's a woman's responsibility to keep herself safe and patrol her own body. And women are set up as, the babysitters of the rapacious male desire. Boys and men aren't responsible. They can't be trusted. They can't control themselves.
Sure.
So it's your job, which is actually insane.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down a line you wrote that we live in a culture that will offer women no protection when something has happened, that we shame them and call them sluts and blame them and we question their accounts of everything. And I do think the Me Too movement has like really been big in moving that forward. We do believe women more today, but it's been a struggle. It's a struggle today. It'll always be a struggle.
It's moved it forward, but like statistically, like just the stats on rapists is like keeps me up at night and how little they ever see jail time, punishment, anything. I mean, it's like staggering. So it's like the thing that kind of like enrages me the most. I'm not saying you're not wrong, but yeah, of course, I feel like we've seen men be a lot more careful.
Yeah.
I think that they were like, oh no, I don't want that to happen to me. I guess I'm not going to be raping anymore, be a predator anymore. But it still is not in our favor at all.
No.
It's been like a dark turn, but
no, but it is. I feel like in the Me Too movement, you saw women come out and defend these men that were doing this. You saw Mila Kunis come out and defend Danny Masterson.
I know.
It was insane to watch.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the point I was getting at was, but yes, I do think it's moved the goalpost, but I think that there will always be more work to do.
Always.
Forever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else Rain and I even have to say other than like own your sexuality. It's great. Like sex is fun. Like
It's such an essential energy, right? And it's the source of all of our creative energy as well. And I think so many women, and I speak of this, from personal experience of being dissociated, shut down. And so many women have experienced trauma, myself included. I'm
Yeah,
sure
you talk about in the
probably
book.
you guys as well. And when you're dislocated from your body and when you're scared to have that sort of attention, there's work that needs to be done because honestly, like when you're in the presence of people who know how to run their sexual energy, whether they're having sex or not, there's a vibrancy
Totally.
and an aliveness that is cross-contextual, right? These are people who are alive, and we all deserve that level of aliveness.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm proud to be somebody who's really, I am who I am. And I'll stand on a mountaintop and say that I'm as sexual as I want to be. I say what I want. But, I'm older than some of our listeners. But I'm really proud that Ashley and I have built a community where we are exactly who we are. We show up as who we are, and we don't really make a lot of apologies for it. And I want that for other people. But that's been hard. And I think about it all the time. And people will say stuff to you about it. But I am proud to be the kind of person that I am what I am, and you can take it or leave it. I'm not going to apologize for it. I think you are so much like that.
I was born this way. All right. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Okay. So the final, anger, which we touched on a little bit, but let's chat about angry women.
So angry women are amazing. Anger is an essential animating emotion. It's how we articulate our needs. It's where we know that a line has been crossed. It's that energy that says, don't tread on me. And women really need to get in touch with their anger because righteous anger changes the world. And what's really interesting, I was just interviewing the Gottmans actually, and John Gottman was talking about research, how anger, when they've looked at sort of the left and right brain hemisphere, he always thought anger had to be a negative emotion or too dangerous, but it's actually an approach emotion. It shows up on the same side of the brain as there's the emotions that are sort of retreat, like disgust, fear, sadness, and then there are approach emotions, joy, anger. It's an emotion that makes you curious and makes you want to engage with the world.
Joy and anger are my primary emotions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're well schooled.
Joy is literally my middle name, and I'm just constantly fighting with everything.
So anger.
No, I'm kidding.
It's waves. It's a roller coaster of joy and anger.
Yeah. We just need to use our anger productively and use it well and not be so scared when people are upset.
To your point, like if we didn't get angry, we would make no change like politically. Like if women didn't get angry, like what would we be doing if women ever got angry in the history of the world and were so provoked that they took to the streets, did whatever it took to like get our equal rights. And even now we're still fighting these battles. Yeah. But what would it be like if we didn't?
No, and you even said got angry. The reality is we are angry, right? It's part of who we are. But what's too often happens with women is that we internalize it and it becomes depression. I think it becomes disease in some instances. And it needs to come out of us. We need to process it. Doesn't mean we have to land it on other people. There are ways to express. I talk about nonviolent communication. So instead of saying, I hate you, you didn't do the dishes, blah, 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 you say, I'm upset because I'm needing some more support. And if you could help me keep the house clean, it would really go a long way.
Great. We'd love an action item and a way to like say things. I feel like we talk a lot and we want to tell our audience, like, this is how you say it. Use these words. Exactly.
You bring it back to yourself and you state your positive need that needs to be met instead of putting someone in the blame seat.
It would go a long way. I love that.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's just like for a while, it'll be really great for me if you do the dishes once.
Yeah.
Just once.
I love that language.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we covered a lot. We love this energy for the new year.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't apologize for who you are.
Yeah.
Be just kinder to yourself.
Take a nap. Be sexy. Get
Fuck a
angry.
stranger and then yell at them. And then make them do the dishes.
No, and be bad. Just recognize we're all bad. We're all good. We're all bad. We're human.
Yeah. Love that.
Elise, I'm so excited.
Okay. Well, Elise, the book is out.
Yeah.
you guys can get it and whatever else you want to plug. If you want people to follow you on social media.
So Honor Best Behavior, available wherever you get your books, an audiobook. And I have a podcast, Pulling the Thread. I have a Substack, eliseloehnen.substack.com. And I'm on Instagram, Elise Loehnen. And I theoretically have a TikTok account, but
Same.
haven't been on there in a minute.
Okay. And you know where to find us, girlsgottaeat.com. Hit that for no tour dates.
Hit it.
But we'll hit
it,
at
Tessa.
some point. Hit it, Tessa. Hit the site if you want to check us out. And Girls Gotta Eat podcast is on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Ash Hess. Raina is Raina.Greenberg. Of course, YouTube, subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and grab our sex toys, embrace your sexuality at vibesonly.com. And we'll see you next week.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy
we love
New
you.
Year.
Happy 2024.
Bye.